Are nunchucks or nunchaku useful in a combat or self-defense situation? I think they are. I've been using them since I was 4 years old. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to actually use them for self-defense or combat. Let's go. Starting with this stance here, hold at the bottom. You can have right leg in front, so you're coming with your jabbing hand almost with your strikes, or as a power hand from the backside with this hand in front for defense. Not only strike from this hand, but you can grab with your front hand, strike, come back into stance. Another good thing you can do is reverse your grip, swing to the left, swing to the right. Good combat stance is having the nunchaku up here. You'll see a lot of guys that do the sparring and they'll have their chucks right back here. You can go horizontal, over, or from underneath. Another good one here, you can trick your opponents coming from over or underneath with the other hand. And you can also switch back to this stance, come into the other stance. Also learning how to add combinations, so strike, strike back, strike up, switch it up. Make sure you're not going to be an easy target. Even when you strike, you're ready to step back, get into position. You can do all these different motions. You don't want to be just stuck there. When you're doing your training drills, you can also do basic strikes going forward, basic strikes going backwards. In combat situations, you got to be moving. You can't just stay standing or frozen. And even if you are in a stance where you're not moving that much, you got to be ready. So in case they do come at you with a katana, nunchaku, or whatever they're using, you can always evade and strike back. You got to be ready to counter with the nunchucks at all times. Sometimes it's not only about defense or attack, you got to be ready with that counter strike. So if somebody comes in, stepping back, coming in, the chucks can fly back. Keep your hands up at all times, and depending on what stance you're using or where you're coming from, you're gonna have to bring the chucks down or back. So swing back, bring it down to your hips, here to your hips. Always keep this hand up. It's gonna stop the chuck from flying back at you, and it's gonna save you from getting hit. Another thing you could do is add a spin in there after your strike. So strike, spin into position. Strike, spin into position. Try to strike with the bottom of your chucks, not so much here, but you want to do with the ends. That's where the power is coming from. If you strike right here, you're not going to get as much power with your strike. So always, when you're striking, hold at the lower position. You're going to get more reach. Strike, and bring the chucks down. Always be watching where the chucks are coming back, because it can always alter in direction on the way back after your strike. Learn how to do all your basic strikes. Just like Bruce Lee said, it's better to practice one kick 1,000 times than 1,000 kicks. Those basic strikes are what's going to come in handy, not all these flashy moves. If you want to actually do combat or self-defense situations, you're going to have to be working on your movement, how to sidestep, come back, go in, and strike, and come back into your stance. The different catches, like these, across the back, over the shoulders, things like that, you may be able to use them in a combat situation, but that's just to get back into position so you can strike or confuse your opponent. So, for example, coming in here, coming back to this stance. See here? Come back to this side. If you want to strike with your left, switch up, switch your legs. It's all about timing, the situation, what you're going against, whatever the case may be. Every situation is going to always be different. Doesn't matter what weapon you're using, but for nunchucks specifically, you do want to be quick. You want to be able to get into your stances fast, be able to sidestep, get out of the way of the attacker, come in and counter them. Counters are number one with nunchucks. Always. If I've ever done anything with nunchucks and gotten a win, it's always been with the counter or rushing in there and, overwhelming your opponent. If you're doing sparring, try some of these different combat moves. Work on your basic strikes, work on your side steps, rushing in, coming back. Try to do some feints. The feints are always good because if they mess up their attack, that's your moment of opportunity. You got to jump in there, rush in if you have to. With the chucks, you're going to be okay. You got this. If you want to use nunchucks, They're a great martial arts weapon to practice with. It's a great workout. Doesn't matter if you're doing it for self-defense or if you're using them in the dojo or just for yourself to learn. I've been using these since I was 4 years old. I still think they're one of my favorite weapons, and I'll probably still keep using them till the end of time. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I'll see you at the next one.